Hey guys, it's your boy Kenny Boulder. It's been a while, I know, but this whole drama has gotten out of control, and I have to talk in a little bit about this because this is the Adeptus Custodes, one of my favorite factions in the Warhammer 40K. These are the Emperor's Guardians. These are the Golden Boys. These are the base of the champions of the Imperium. The Golden Legion, the 10,000. These boys have been around since the beginning of the 40K universe, but with the Black Library books, and basically we have come into drama. And I say drama because it's something that not many folks really know or really care, but recently Games Workshop has renounced a new edition of the Custodians, and in this new Custodians Workshop, and I'm going to show it on my screen right now, basically they introduce female custodians. Adeptus Custodians Codex confirms the existence of female custodians, and there is pictures of a custodian female, Caliades Toravolia Kesh, stood on the bridge of a Cobra-class destroyer named Vigilant Flame. The warship belonged to the mighty Battlefield Solar. She lingered in the shadows at the back of the bridge, positioned in a spot where she could observe the actions of every crew member, be they in the instrumentation pits or the armament shrines, or in this case, Shipmaster Lethwick stood rammed straight before his command throne. So this got leaked, and lo and behold, everyone is losing their minds. And I don't want to say everybody. A lot of folks don't really care about this stuff. The Custodians is a small faction in a big universe with Warhammer 40K. And it's always been kind of like not really mentioned if they're fully all male. But obviously some folks have discovered, and you know, some folks have looked and analyzed this. And I can tell you right now, it's kind of been hinted that not all of them are male, and let's just say a lot of folks are not upset and are very upset about this and not happy about this change. And I just had to make this video because I have my opinions, and honestly, I welcome this change. I want this change to happen, and it definitely makes sense. It makes sense in the lore. It makes sense in previous, lore tidbits with Master of Mankind, with works that, how the custodians operate and work and how they're made. It makes sense. This is a 40K universe, 40,000 years in the future, 30,000 years if you consider the Great Crusade and when they actually are introduced. And it makes sense that they can be anybody, And I'm going to show you this guy right now. This one here is Female Custodes in the Adeptus Custodes subreddit. And this is the subreddit dedicated to the Adeptus Custodians. And they mention a couple times that, yes, there's some inconsistencies, that they mentioned that they're, the sons or the children to become custodians, and they're referred as a brotherhood. But this doesn't state that they're only male onlys. And then there's a comment right here from Aaron Dabisky Bowden, one of my favorite authors. He explicitly states that there was also a student mandate a couple of years after that saying, don't do female custodians. Again, that doesn't seem to tie in the release of an all-male mini-line. And this was 5+ years ago. And basically, my homeboy here, My Joints Are Crisp for Life, talks about how we don't really get hinted on this. And obviously, a lot of the custodians that are Jews are talking about are male. Like, yes, many of the ones in the 30K and 40K universe so far have been named only as male figures. But there's a moment, there's a scene in one of the, I think it is the Siege of Terror books, where basically Sanguinus meets the Emperor of Mankind and mentions very well that there are female and male companions with the Emperor. Golden female and male companions. And yes, this could be Sisters of Silence, but this is also, like many folks are like me can hinted, they could be female custodians. And again, the argument here is that, well, why bring them now? Why introduce them now? Why talk about this now? And when I point out, like, custodians are not, they don't have a gene seed. In the lore, they're like by the molecules, like they're basically built from the ground up. They're perfect in any way. They're individualized. And why, in the future, these are super engineered super soldiers. It definitely makes sense that you can genetically modify a female body into a super soldier covered armor with, various chemicals and various gene crafting, etc. It makes sense. I don't think there's any issue with that, and I think a lot of folks have kind of gone bonkers about this. And unfortunately, a lot of folks are claiming that Games Workshop has gone woke, and all this lore is just feeding into folks that don't deserve. I don't think it matters, and I think this is a welcome change, because at the end of the day, I'm a fan of welcoming more folks in the hobby, and it definitely makes sense. It's not like we're changing the lore that much with the Custodians. There's never been a lore that says, sorry guys, only male candidates explicitly. There isn't. There's been references with brotherhoods. There's been mostly male characters, but that makes sense because for the past 40 years of this hobby, it's been mostly male-dominated. So I get that a lot of folks are losing their mind because, oh man, there's a female character now. And honestly, I think they're a good addition to the lore. They expand on things, and it's not a big deal. But while we're here, though, we have to look at the cringe. There's been so much cringe out here because of this one change in the lore. And it's like baffling of how bonkers everyone has lost their mind with this. So, right now, cringe. Alright, here we go. So guys, this is a YouTube channel I discovered recently. And this is Sargon of Ascod. And it literally is titled... Warhammer finally goes woke. And there's 10,000 upvotes right now. So, 10,000 ups, and the comments are already cringe. I actually got a couple of screenshots right now. And we're just going to go over the video itself, because the video itself I think we just have to look at this and analyze this in a couple of ways.
If it was a long time coming, Warhammer has finally gone woke.
Wow! They've gone woke! They've gone woke! How? Tell me how.
In the current year, saying something has gone woke is a bit of a lame sentence, as almost everything is woke now, but as a gently
woke, sure.
Without destroying it from the inscription. It isn't that the forces of the left haven't been desperately trying to debauch 40k for years now. They of course have. The problem...
The forces of the left. The forces of the left have turned Warhammer into a woke new paradise. You heard it here. It's woke, it's beautiful, and there's diversity and inclusion, and there's just not white dudes saving the universe from aliens and elves and things, because that's how Warhammer 40K has always been. My guy, let's keep going. Let's keep going.
Was that the internal logic of the setting made it very difficult. This doesn't mean that Games Workshop, the company who makes 40k, isn't woke, however. They, of course, are. And they've been telling us this for a long time.
Oh, my God.
In response to the death of George Floyd in 2020, Games Workshop, for some reason, decided that they ought to put out a statement telling us that Warhammer was for everyone, and if you didn't like it, you wouldn't be missed.
Whoa! That's insane! That these guys are losing their minds because a company decided that, hey, maybe killing people of color is a bad thing. And I'm just shook right now. Like, I didn't realize is this bad. Okay, we gotta keep going.
The important part here, though, is that they threaten to continue to diversify the characters in 40k, so that, quote, everyone can find representation and heroes they relate to.
Oh.
Which is an odd thing to write, because the fun part of the grimdark universe of Warhammer is that one explicitly does not find oneself represented by the enormous genetically modified space racists.
That's... You're kind of... The barriers of this science fiction novel series and reality, yes, I get it. But these are still stories about people. And either way, you could look up characters and see something that represents from them. In fact, many Warhammer 40k novels is about humanism, understanding the other. And yeah, it's tragic that we have to, commit genocide and kill people. But like, at the end of the day, it is about people. And at the end of the day, it is a universe that is fictional. Anyway, let's just keep going. Let's keep going.
Whose sole mission is to exterminate all alien and divergent life in the galaxy.
There you go.
Imagine the kind of person that must feel represented by the core faction of this universe.
Oh my God.
Many of the factions are not even human. One might ask if Games Workshop even understands why people play Tyranids or demons or orcs.
It doesn't matter.
The fun of the setting does not come in seeing oneself in the factions.
No.
But instead getting to simulate an experience that lies outside of normal human endeavor. Anyway, the point is...
So, I mean, yeah, like, the Tyranids aren't humanized, yes. And I guess he brings up the Tau, and then, you know, Ultramarines killing each other. Like, that's canon, sure, whatever. That's not an argument for wokeness, though. That's canon, that's in there. Cool. My guy, let's see why Warhammer 40K is woke now.
Is that Games Workshop, as a company, desperately wants to be woke.
Let's see it.
It has
Come
been
on.
saddled with a pre-woke inheritance.
Pre-woke
that is
inheritance.
decidedly
All right, we're
anti-woke.
here.
And this issue always reared its head
All
in
right.
the question of, can there be female Space Marines?
Oh
to
my
which the
gosh.
answer was always a resounding and firm no from Games Workshop.
Yes.
Even if they really,
blah, blah,
really
blah.
wanted
Space
that.
Marines,
For
Space
years,
Marines, Space
or old
Marines.
GW something like, well, that's all well and good, Games Workshop.
All right, we're talking about BlackRock shareholder.
But
Sorry.
we really need to look very bad at the shareholder meetings with BlackRock. One could imagine the BlackRock representative saying something like, well, that's all well and good, Games Workshop, but we really need female space racists as...
Oh my gosh. This guy is saying that stakeholders, diversifying money, various... Yeah, I mean, they're a business. I don't think the business is going to be like, you need to make more woke characters. It's not relevant. Not relevant.
As well, you know. To which Games Workshop must have responded, well, we really want female space racists. but we simply
BlackRock
can't,
Vanguard
you see.
Group?
They're
Whoa.
male-only space racists. We're really sorry. However, after all, from the ravening alien hordes, and one faction of these are called the Adeptus Custodians.
Okay, here we go.
Where the Space Marines are huge, genetically modified space racists, these are even bigger, even more genetically modified space racists, in golden armor, whose job it is to guard the Emperor of Mankind himself. News broke recently of the latest rules book that is to be released for this faction, in which it has been revealed that there are now female Adeptus Custodes. These books contain a mixture of rules combined with world-building short stories.
Yes,
and the
that's
new
part
Adeptus
of the
Custodes
codexes.
Codex has a short story about a custodian called Calades Taralovia, pronouns
well, that's how you pronounce
she, her.
it. Yep.
This is new, because until now, 40k lore had stated, just like with the Space Marines, that the Custodes were exclusively male. Previous editions simply just said the Custodians were the infant sons recruited from the nobility, who were then put through the process of genetic modification.
So, like, infant sons, yes, that's old lore, but you can change shit. Like literally, you can change stuff, and they've been changing stuff since the beginning. Adding stories with Warhammer 40k, moving stories, changing retcons, that's been a thing since day one. Like, we even had changes with the big foundational parts of Warhammer 40k with the Siege of Terra series. This is not new. This has been happening forever. The Necrons were literally just mindless robots until like 10 years ago. Now they're like space Egyptians in space. Like, the lore keeps changing. Like, that's not a big deal. I don't get what he's saying, why... I just don't get it. I generally don't.
Twitter obviously noticed that this was new, and
it's obviously new, whatever, blah, blah,
decided
blah.
to be surprised. Company was not well received, and Twitter suddenly filled up with diehard long...
Look at that. Kiss my ass, GB, not another penny. This guy literally canceled his Warhammer because they're putting women in it is so, literally, this is what we're dealing with. The cringe is going so high. And I just think that these guys who, like, post about this are the most wildest people out there. Because who fucking cares? Who actually cares that there's female Custodes? Besides this one guy, Brother Balwork. Brother Balwork Grimm with the United Kingdom and England's flag. And he paid his $7 to, Twitter. So there you go. These are the idiots who are actually... rage baiting this. It's funny. It's funny. It's so funny.
Cancelling their subscriptions and vowing that they would no longer spend money on the hobby. In response, the new brand ambassadors that Games Workshop had courted for their products began telling people to leave.
Yeah, I don't. They can leave. If their fantasy isn't already like, oh man, I love these space marines who hate aliens and mutants and xenos and etc. And then, oh, there's a female Adeptus Custodes. Yeah, that's like, you're in for the wrong reasons. Yes, it's grimdark. Yes, it's, edgy, and there's a lot of like conflict and war, and that's what stuff a lot of people are drawn to. But like, if you're mad that there's female representation in the medium, then you are, I don't know, go join like other groups. Find something else. There's nothing that makes you stay here.
Which is great marketing. But the question that underpins all of this is, why are Games Workshop so desperate to create female versions of their traditionally all-male space racists?
Oh, here we
a
go.
move which they knew would incense the fan base and damage
incense
their
the fan
reputation.
base. Yeah,
There is no financial incentive to do this.
There is!
In fact, there's probably a massive financial disincentive to do this.
My gosh.
However, still, the compulsion to drive their property to this place remains, and they cannot simply ignore it. They must somehow find a way of creating female space marines.
No.
And it seems that lying has just become an acceptable means of stepping over the problem,
No.
if that's what it takes.
It's not lying.
The answer is, of course, that they think this is what makes them good people.
No.
The people who run Games Workshop are not moral philosophers. They're plastic toy makers. And when it comes to making plastic toys, they are the undisputed best. Having
Literally, there's female characters in this picture.
been a fan of Games Workshop's work for over 30 years, I can attest that they truly are the masters. However, moral philosophy has come a long way since the old everyone
Moral
can
philosophy.
do as they choose as long as they aren't
All
hating
right,
others
buddy.
phase
Let's
of
hear
the
it.
80s, 90s and 2000s.
Let's hear your moral philosophy.
Now we have the intersectional philosophy of inclusion and representation, which we summarize for brevity as woke. In the pre-woke paradigm, to be a good person was to do the right thing for the right reason to achieve the right result. It required you to take action with good intention to achieve a good consequence.
No.
For example,
That's
I
not
will
it.
carry this old lady's groceries
That's
because she's not
wrong.
strong enough herself.
Groceries and wokeness is not the same fucking thing. What? This guy clearly does not understand what diversity, inclusion, and equity is. I'll be real with you. If he's been a fan for 30 years, he's probably pissed off a lot of things have changed. And this is obviously 10,000 clicks, clickbait, what was it? Almost 100,000 views. I get it. There's a part of the fandom that isn't happy about this for a wide range of reasons. But to put this as wokeness, that, oh my gosh, Games Workshop is getting money by being more woke, it's not, no. The answer is no. That is dumb. That's stupid. If there's making a change that is something that that has been there for a while, that is there for a while, in not many forms, and yes, some of the lore says Brotherhood, Sons, whatever, but they didn't exclusively say, oh
to
yeah,
get them home.
and the Custodians are all male. No exceptions. That's never been a thing. People just kind of like gathered, pieces of things and just made an assumption that. And also, this lore can change wherever. It is their IP. At the end of the day, it's Games Workshop's IP. And I get it. A lot of the authors, a lot of the creators of Warhammer 40K do want to bring more stories, be more open to the fan base by including female representation. And that's not woke. That isn't. Let's hear what this idiot has to say. I'm curious what else he has to say. What his shitty opinions are.
Tangible action, a positive spirit, and good works were all core and intrinsic components of being a good person.
Okay.
However, the philosophy of inclusion and representation does not care about such things at all. It cares about systemic systems of structural structures.
Yes.
And does not have any interest in the intrinsic moral worth of an act, but instead calculates right and wrong through the lens of power. It is in the power to act that wokeness finds moral worth to lie. In the ability to privilege one and...
When you're talking about wokeness with a Wikipedia page and bring it into a science fiction universe, All right, this is painful. This is so painful to listen to.
Exclude the
Jesus.
other. Exclusion implies a lack of power over a certain domain, which renders the excluded as being denied access to right and wrong, and the excluders themselves as immoral because it is access to power which is the very source of the substance of morality. This is the moral calculus, which not only provides the constant impulse towards inclusion, but also makes it acceptable to lie in the pursuit of that goal. What they do is disconnected from the consequence they seek.
Okay, this is a lot of big words. Obviously, he's done some research about what wokeness is, what the power of the dynamics is. This is not the same. And I say this because it isn't that women demanded to be custodians and that women were actively pushing this. No, this was a change for the better. You're including and not really necessarily world-breaking the universe of Warhammer 40K by having female custodians. And it isn't a work agenda by having female representation in the universe. There's actually a lot of female representation already. And obviously the fandom and the folks who love Warhammer 40K have grown outside of the United Kingdom and England. And I guess people of color, people who are not English guys wearing fancy hats and stuff. Like there's so many more folks who are engaged in this fandom, who love the books, who love the universe. And I think that's where I have a struggle with really recognizing this dude's opinions here by saying it's all wokeness. It's all about, Games Workshop trying to sell more kits. Well, it doesn't even matter. And I feel like at this point in juncture in time, like, things have changed so much that the Warhammer universe of, like, the 90s and 80s is nowhere near the same universe it is in 2024. It just isn't. And the reason why is because they've expanded the lore, they've expanded the audience from a niche, small, 10 dudes in, a pub to hundreds of thousands of people, millions of people worldwide who are willing to buy books, buy kits, paint, and share their love and interest in the hobby. And at the end of the day, that is Warhammer 40K, is being able to embrace this hobby and showing off your kits and showing off for your units and talking about the lore. And I get it. It is kind of artificial that we are having this huge multi-layer culture war here in a niche science fiction series. I understand that. I know that. And I get it that these dudes here literally have like a mental breakdown when equal representation, or when we talk about how there's a lot of different characters of color or women characters in their very masculine, super macho world. I understand that they feel threatened and that their hobbies are now in the mainstream, and that's bad, but I welcome that. Because if you're an actual Warhammer 40K fan, this is the golden age of source material, of lore, of content that people are gushing and wanting. I have so many Warhammer 40K books. I have hundreds of books here. And I am able to share that book and this fandom with friends all over the world. People of color, men and women, whatever. Like, that is the greatness of Warhammer 40K, of the fandom. And wherever this is not the fandom. And I can tell you right now, this is bad. This is bad. Having these memes, having these guys be part of the fandom about gatekeeping and shit like this is bad and dumb, and if they're not gonna win. I'm sorry. If you don't like this, yeah, you're gonna be out pissed off and fuming forever, because at the end of the day, there's gonna be more representation. There's gonna be more characters of color, people who are female characters, and the world's gonna keep advancing, and it already has been like that for so long right now. In fact, one of the most recent, revelation, surprise, is that there are plenty of female Chaos Space Marines. There just are. Literally, in Fabius's Biles book series, there's literally a female Chaos Space Marine who is demonically infused with, the energies of the warp, etc. And she is an active leader of a war band of Emperor's Children. Like, the idea of, we can't have female Space Marines. I listen, buddy. There's always been genetically modified humans who basically are essential Space Marines. In fact, in one of the Dark Angel series, in the when the Dark Angels / the Order on Caliban, many of the full-grown people became Space Marines. And Luther is an example. You don't need gene seed. You don't need to, have the special juice to make you into a Space Marine. The technology and the lore already allows regular people to become Space Marines, and using power armor, etc. Like that's already there. There literally is a named character who is a female Space Marine of the Dark Angels, and she has a couple living lines already. They're there already, and it's gonna happen. Like, end of the day, it's about dudes who are too attached to random, bits of lore, and honestly probably don't participate in the hobby as much. And the clickbait, the culture wars, has gotten a hold of them. And I want to show this. This is Games Workshop. In regards to female Space Marines, there have always been female Space Marines since the first of the 10,000 were created. That's from Games Workshop official. That's the law of the land, and that's what's going to stay. So all these dudes who are complaining, who are just honestly dumb about their political views, about having female custodians, what are you going to do about it? Quit the hobby? Sure. That's fine by me. You can do whatever you want. But folks like me, though, who are invested in the hobby, who love the lore, I welcome this with open arms. And I'm like hitting this with the same repetitive thing. It's good for the community. It's good to have representation. It's good to see this happening in the Warhammer 40K universe, because we want to grow the hobby. We want to get more folks engaged. I want to see more mediums with Warhammer 40K, because it just shows a story, and it shows a dark future that we should definitely avoid and not really glorify. And in fact, and a lot of folks say this, space fascism, genocide. These are real topics and real issues, and they definitely have a special saying in our current political and social commentary. Because at the end of the day, this could be our future. Imagine if the Nazis won in World War II. This is what it would look like with space fascism. And we see this multiple times in multiple perspectives of people who are rational, very progressive characters who are like, this is a horrible government system. There's no way this system could sustain itself unless there's lots of blood and treasure being given to it. And we do see that with Imperial Man. Alright, I do have some screenshots. Most of these screenshots I got from the video, so bear with me. It is absolute cringe. It is so cringe that I just want to share this. And just to talk about how the conversation for this is just muddled in misogyny, in hatred, and in cringe. It just makes no sense. Here you go. Kato Sakaris putting the towel in her place with Chef's Kiss. This was the picture earlier of the towel. One of the very few female characters we have in Warhammer 40K is Shao Sun. Shao Sun is one of the best, greatest minds of the Tau. She's basically a Tau commander, and she fights Kato Sakaris, which is an Ultramarine. And this guy, Mr. LOL guy, he thinks that, I guess this is okay just because putting women in their place, that's pretty fucked up. I'm not gonna lie. This is what we're seeing from some of the fandom here. And it makes me sad because it's just it's poor taste, and it shows a lot of more than just misogyny. And also Shao Sun is pretty cool, Commander Farsight envies Shao Sun. I'm just saying. Dude with a sword. Next one. I'm a woman. I love 40K. I love the lore. If I wanted female custodians and Space Marines, it would mean I didn't like the lore, and I would have been a fan in the first place. GW is changing the game for people who don't play it. It is liked by by Sargon. So that's just your opinion. I don't think that if you started this love and passion and they add something new that you don't love anymore, that you're not a fan in the first place. I think that's just ridiculous. I think that's just That's just your opinion. Cool. As someone who's been part of the lore, I think this is a welcome change. And I'm sure many folks like it. And Custodians as female representation, that's fine. In fact, I've always thought that they had female representation and that they were just never mentioned because no one wants to be political and make a statement. So, yeah. Cool. And I just want to highlight, like he did like this. Like, he's like, you know what? Look, a female fan. I like this. They agree my opinion, my position. That's just, hey, good for you, man. Like, the author likes it. Cool. I thought it was funny. That of all the comments, he saw this one and says, I'm a female. Oh, they agree with me? Cool. Awesome. All right, next comment. Let's go to the next one. Literally 1984! It's literally 1984 that Games Workshop is adding female representation in a universe full of female characters already. 1984! Just I think that's just funny. I mean, the people, British people love calling 1984. The right-wing media, it's 1984. You know, the government's clamping down. You know, thought police everywhere. Cool. Awesome, bro. And look at this one. In the grim darkness of the 21st century, there is only woke. Listen, guy, in the grim darkness of the 21st century, there's always been female representation in a lot of places. In the grim dark century of the 18th century, women didn't have the right to vote or actually be citizens. So, I gotta be real with you. You speak from a place of privilege, probably, and that's cool. And, yeah, thanks, Peter. Appreciate you, buddy. There's only woke in the 21st century. Nah, man. Women have been fighting for their rights forever. And they will be fighting for their rights forever, too. And I don't gotta explain this shit. They can explain it. They've been struggling through a lot of stuff. Not just in the fandom, but in the internet, all over the world, in history. I just think it's, you know, this is a shit comment. That's all I gotta say. This is a shitty comment. Next comment. Excellent. Another IP catering to an audience that doesn't exist. Well, you know, that's just, the audience is there. They're going to stick around. They're going to buy more of this stuff. Literally, it is plastic crack, and I guarantee you, the margins for this are not going to be even a dent into the 40K / Games Workshop money, because I'll be honest, people are going to still buy their stuff, and I buy their books and buy their merch, buy their figures. Yeah, cool, bro. Next comment! Alright. We must appease the women and the gays for diversifying our ranks, said no chapter master ever. A chapter master did not say that, so... Yikes! Yikes! The gays! Like, literally, when you mentioned the women and the gays, that's just like... Bro! It's so cringe! Like, you can see why I'm like, making this video. Because these dudes, they're really cringe. And they're just crying, complaining about anything that touches their hobbies. And it's so pathetic. And it's just like, find other things to talk about and complain, you know? Next comment. May you live in interesting times, and all your hobbies become mainstream is the greatest curse you can say to someone. I mean, that's just dumb. Like, things will be becoming mainstream either way. This niche hobby has been mainstream for a while. Like, there's always been a huge fandom of 40K, and it isn't just a small area. In fact, I remember there were Warhammer 40K books all over the bookstores in like 2007 and 8. Like, I remember that. It's been mainstream. Dawn of War was one of the first and one of the best PC games of all time. That's still mainstream to this day. Alright. Next one. Here we go. DEI didn't earn it. Cool. Way to spell Internet Explorer 60, 70, 90, whatever. Wow, didn't earn it. Hey man, I'm sure you earned a lot of things in life. I'm sure you're happy. I'm sure you're spending a lot of stuff doing progressive and productive stuff in your life as well. And yeah, that is, I guess, diversity, inclusion, and equity is a joke to you, and clearly you are hurt, and you have some things you want to tell the world, and I just think they're dumb. Next. Okay, another one. DEI ensures that things die. Thank you, DeMarcus Culfer. Nah, man. Again, culture wars are a thing in this society. People have opinions on who gets what, who gets right. The balancing act between power structures and institutional racism doesn't matter. Excellent, bro. Cool. You know, let's just forget that, like, Warhammer 40K was a parody of the 80s Margaret Thatcher, like, time frame, where they were actually trying to be, like, edgy and cool, and trying to be something different than the mainstream mediums at the time. Having something dark and edgy in the far future was very much a counterculture movement. So, I guess maybe we live in counterculture now, where the culture war, it's cool to be edgy. And I guess that's what we live in now. So that's really it. I mean, I can go on and on about this stuff all day. And I guess what I'm trying to say here is female custodians are here to stay. And whether you agree with it or disagree with it, they're here to stay, man. And like I said, I welcome this. I truly do welcome this change. I feel like this is going to enhance and give more stories, more opportunities, more perspectives, and obviously the lore is going to only be better for it. And so I decided to make this video because I saw a lot of the cringe comments. Honestly, Reddit's blown up with a lot of this stuff, and I think it's funny. Just because this is like the little niche neighborhood that I've been a fan for many, many years, and now it's like blowing up in the mainstream. And yeah. And dude, hey, let me know what you think in the comments. If I'm wrong, tell me why I'm wrong. I'm ready. So it's your boy Kenny Boulder. I hope you enjoyed this video. Obviously, let me know in the comments if you agree, disagree. And yeah, have a great day, guys, and take care. Ciao. And for the Emperor!